a fun, random, just chaotic morning of an episode that we are coming off of, which was enjoyable. It's more of like a transition point A to B kind of thing. Nothing progressing story wise or anything, of course, really occurred, but it was just fun shenanigans, you know? Sometimes there's nothing wrong with toning things down a little bit or toning things down story wise and just having some fun with your characters. You know, some people don't necessarily love that. I don't necessarily love it, I think, at the beginning of a series. I think like at some point in the middle, but sometimes before you get way too far into things, it might be something that is necessary to get in. And also, like, if you do this at the beginning, like they did at this point, anybody who's like turned off by the episode may just not be a fan of the comedy of the show, which almost might be telling enough to like, you probably shouldn't watch the show if you're not enjoying that, you know? So getting all that stuff out the way, you gave them like a couple episodes of build up of like where we're probably headed with the story. And then you give them an episode of like, this is just how we get down to like mess around and do some like insanely goofy things. So if you don't like it, get out, like get out now before it's too late. So it works. I think it works. So I'm excited to see where we go. I'm assuming we probably get back to story-based things here. We start focusing a little bit more on the different battles and the things that Ryuko's going to have to go through here and whatever we're going to have to do to be able to get up to Satsuki. So I am excited to see what that is. I hope you enjoy. If you like it all, hit the like and subscribe. The announcement, feel free to stick around for the discussion. Leave any comments with this particular series. Let's get going with episode 5. Oh. We're strapped. Yes, indeed he is. In the middle of class? In the middle of class. Trample the flowers, you do this. Ah, the hard work. Ah, you can't help but feel bad. I like how his attacks are plant-based. It's a handful to say. Fuck your uniform, they got the 9. No, I killed it. Bro, my cigarettes where I want them. When I have a job and a goal, I hate people getting in the way. She done really leveled up. That fight was great for her. Thank you. I have a feeling this ain't the last time you're getting taken. Maybe even this episode. How do we fix that? Ah, I can tell everything from it. Got it. Don't even go. That's right. That's right. They can't hear him. I forgot you'd be hearing things in your head, you know? Mako does not stand the chance. She is.
少しの間おとなしくしてもらった。危害はない。
What's up, dude?
針の効能で疲労回復疾病回元気はつらつになっているだろう。
Oh gosh, just stiff. Like she got stuffed. I don't. Yeah, that's a way to start. Yeah, there we go.
いいことを教えてやろう。
The same thing you already said to us. Okay.
俺
No.
は変態ではない。二つ。俺の前では変身できない。
So what the fuck do we do?
撃てば死ぬぞ。
Hesitation? Who?
明日また脱がせに来る。
Who? Oh, teacher, probably. Teacher. Yeah. I was gonna say, has to be somebody that we're familiar with.
さつきの全国学園支配も残るは関西だけとなった。カムイをもって桐生院の野望を阻む。それがマトイ博士の意志であり、我々ヌーディストビーチの選択した道だ。お前はそれ。
That's our name? Why did we go with that one?
危険すぎる。
Probably, but if we have to put a stop to it. Okay, so maybe at a general.
桐生院以上の脅威が誕生する。だから今処分する。
Okay.
見込まれて怪物になる前に。
So he's not a bad dude.
絹江さんはそう言っていた。
いつでも協力するよ。カムイ以外のことならな。
本部に知れれば、お前の装備はすべて没収されるぞ。
そうなったとしても俺はカムイを狙い続ける。裸のヌーディストとして。
Okay. Does she even get to eat when you see her, for being honest? The speed they move.
よせ犬、私の上に乗るな、爪を立てるな、よだれを垂らすな、屁をこくな、竜子なんとかしてくれ。ごちそうさん。
She's trying to think about what happened today. Like how Mako doesn't though. Just okay with the fact that she got pinned down like that. Okay. Yeah.
分析結果によれば、この針は特殊な金属でできており、人体と生命繊維とのコネクションを遮断する力を持っているとのことです。
極征服に対抗できる武器とはシャラ臭いね。
裏にいるのは例の連中ということか。本能寺学園に牙向く愚か者どもが。
ただ、今回のターゲットはマトイリュウコの。
I'm more concerned about her than what you guys are doing.
狙いはカムイか。だが、所詮はシギとハマグリの争いだ。
I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
おや、音楽家が漁夫になりますか。
こっちは転校生に生物部も潰されてんのよ。ここは文化部に任せていただくわ。いいでしょ、さつき様。
Okay. Send our first challenger.
今日は私を切るな。
え？
奴の狙いは私だ。私を着なければ狙われることはない。
私の狙いはサツキだ。お前を着て奴をぶっ飛ばす。
Also, if she leaves you behind, he's still gonna go after her in a way to find you, you know?
ここにブツブツ言ったら気味悪いな。
あれがなけりゃいい子なんだがな。
よっぽど友達がいない。
No. Mago's barely that.
大事なんだよ。
Right.
ちょっとレーンを受け入れ
He's been there.
私たちだけは。
マゴ、今日は先に行け。頼む。
わかった。
Okay.
リュウコちゃん、
You're-
あなたの友達は先月ちゃんだけじゃない。私もだからね。じゃあ先行って。
Why did she make it more complicated for herself? A little
て
shaking.
いるのかリュウコ。
うるさい。
そんな心境でまともに戦えるのか。
だからいちいちうるさいんだよ。てめえはただの服だ。黙って私に着られてればいいんだ。
ただの服だと。
話は後だ。もうごちゃごちゃ言うなよ。
Even from the shadows, brother moves.
カムイ先決だろ。どこのドイツだ。
身体能力の優劣だけが勝敗を決めるわけじゃない。
Bro, game plan for this.
そんな攻撃聞いてたまるか。
Oh.
朝ぼら系。
What? This is the third party. All right. I like transforming this into all of them. Right. We're gonna get our revenge too. We're gonna get our get back.
屋上の敵撃たせてもらうぜ。
あんなに
Conductor, look at her.
ザコブを相手にさせていいのかな。
あら簡単に倒しちゃつまんないでしょ。
Right, right. Take it
あなたで
slow.
もそうしたんじゃない？
Wear her down a
プ
little
ロのお
bit.
手並みが見られる機会よ。くん。
どこ行きやがった。
We're gonna have some fun while we do. Here's a backing track I'll perform for you. All the sacrifices. That's fucked.
さないリュウコ。もう限界だ。
Ah. I feel like there's a better way to explain what you're doing than telling the girl to take her clothes off.
昔ある女がいた。女は人と服は敵じゃないと信じていた。愚かな女だ。その愚かさゆえに、服に裏切られた。二つ。お前も行き着く先は、その女と同じだ。
何言ってるか全然
You
わか
are
んない
no
よ。
different than that.
だろうな。リュウコ、お前だけでも逃げろ。
Bro sacrificed himself. Why? No.
これで分かっただろう。こいつは今自分だけで逃げようとした。
違う。
お前に利用価値がなくなったと知って、
私を守ろうとして
生命線には
鮮血は
寄生虫だ。
この服はリュウコちゃんの一丁羅よ。それをこんなにするなんて、あなたに服を一着しか持ってない人の気持ちがわかる。
No. That's your only friend too. Come on. Thank you, Mako. Hit the post.
この服をすっごく大事にしてる。いつもこそこそ話しかけてる。君が悪いでしょ。うちの家族もみんな君悪がってる。でもそれが服を一着しか持ってない人なの。そんな人から服を剥ぎ取るなんて、お友達を奪うのと同じよ。そうよ。この服はリュウコちゃんのお友達。頭の中にしか友達がいない。
So I get it. I get it. Aww.
そんなリュウコちゃんなら服とだって友達になれる。むしろもうだって。 ダメじゃない。お友達は大事にしなきゃ。
Mako's so sweet. She don't really get it, but she get it, you know?
じゃあマコ、居眠りの罰で女子トイレの掃除中だから。バイバーイ。
渡さね
まだ痛い目を見たいのか。
竜子に手を出すな。私は許さない。
And he heard it.
今喋ったか。
Didn't even move though, huh?
こいつら互いに。
Change Bro's whole fucking perspective almost. Hold on, there's another party involved. Alright. Okay. Beautiful way to create the distraction to get away.
反制服ゲリラの戦闘データは
解析終了。パターン化できました。
いいだろう。ジャクズレは私の意図をよく組んでくれた。ローをねぎらってやれ。
先決、私たちはもっと強くならなければいけない。いや、強くなれる。一緒なら。
It's just monsters lurking out there in the shadows, let's be real.
いや、違う。
Friends, right?
友達だ。
Yeah, not just a piece of clothing, brother.
ただ体脂肪はもう測るな。
それはできんな。
友達だろうが。
ウエストを2センチ絞れ。
だからうっせんだよ。
よくマトイ君を助けてくれた。これで借りは返してもらったな。
あれじゃ足りないさ。
Now you're starting to see the vision that he presented.
女の子にしか貸しは作らないんだ。
2ついいことを教えてやる。1つチャンスをやるだけだ。
I'll fucking take that if I have to. I'll give her a chance.
2つほころびが見えればまた脱がせに来る。
Yeah. And episode 5 complete, getting us back on task from where 3 left us off and continuing, I guess, almost from where 4 left us off. We find ourselves in a really intriguing and fun spot. We center around mainly 2 different things with the general battle, of course, that Ryuko was kind of assuming was going to come from people now that, you know, she has this bounty essentially placed on her head, if we're being honest. But that mainly comes in the form of Mr. Kinagase Samugu, who is the military-esque kind of a guy. That's the vibe he tries to almost give off, who comes in and has his own reasons and everything, of course, for going up against her. But we operate in the background with the overall student council looking onwards and sending their own troops of the orchestra kind of leading lady, who doesn't really have the sole intention of winning this battle, but instead using it as more analysis and things that can be done on him and also on Ryuko to figure out a whole bunch of things to help them, help Satsuki, of course, prepare for future battle, and of course, prepare her and the people that she's going to utilize for whenever her time ultimately comes in her one-on-one moment that she'll probably end up getting at some other point. So I really find it fun to be able to incorporate 3 people while not necessarily having it a battle of 3 people, like either against each other or all focused on one specific person either. I think is fun, and having them just work in the back to maybe cause havoc a little bit more, but at the same time not necessarily mean it in the way that it was going to come with like an actual like result or outcome by the end of it, and just using it as like a information gatherer in a way is pretty fun. And it's a good way to tie the student council into the story still and utilize them in a really important and relevant way while introducing and focusing on another character and trying to expand on some other plot points that we'll get to. I think it's a good way to do that, because if you off screen them still and don't like utilize them in any sort of way throughout this, where we face the issue where you might go a few episodes where they're not relevant at all, like they weren't at all in episode 4. So if you get another one in episode 5, the big threat and the thing that's kind of like looming over everybody is not existent for a few episodes. It just doesn't make them feel as imposing or strong in any sort of way. Something about like giving them that screen time and letting them operate still in the background, and not necessarily having the lead in Satsuki while still being there, but not showing up in front of like the group of like actual students or Ryuko or like any of us really, but just having her kind of be there in positioning like her pieces still on the board here is a really interesting way, I think, of doing it, and a fun way of doing it to just keep them involved on a more subtle level, but still have that imposing threat that we feel that is coming and growing stronger and stronger as each episode passes, and as they gather more and more information and likely set things up to be a little bit better for them. Now, they do face that issue, of course, that Ryuko, the longer that she's in this position, is going to grow more accustomed to working with Sengetsu, and also is going to probably just get a little stronger, figure out what to do, figure out ways to improve on whatever it is that she needs to, and ways to kind of synchronize in a way that works more for her to grow her own strength and whatever abilities and attacks and stuff that they're going to try and utilize together, which we do get to see, of course, right at the beginning with her improvement utilizing her scissor and everything too. So definitely already growth there. And of course, the relationship and bond getting closer by the back end of the episode between the two on that as well. So it can backfire in a certain way, but it's more so just trying to come prepared before you actually get to that climax moment that I think is the necessity here. And it's one of those things like you don't want to rush into and fail, because we already display it, especially in this episode, that this is the last region. This is the last thing that we really have to conquer. And there's this one remaining hope essentially for maybe people on the outside to look in on, like, we don't want them to fully have control over all of this, and this person can break this up and do whatever. So from Satsuki's perspective, you got to look at it as in like, I can't like we're at the finish line, we can't fail now. Like if we fail now or we have a huge setback, it can cause a lot of issues. Like we have to remain kind of level-headed and strong. It's a similar thing that happens a lot, of course, in like sports, right, where a team might be up by like a bunch going into like the last half or the last quarter or whatever, you're getting closer to the end of the game, and then you find yourself in a position where you let your foot off the gas a little bit, right? You would just assume you got things locked away, you know, maybe you're up by a certain amount and you're just like, there's no way that they do this. And then what do you know? They pull off the craziest comeback and upset you've ever seen. It's because you didn't come prepared, you know. Same thing with a lot of other analogies and things I can use for that too. But it's one of those things, she still has to be cautious and remain, you know, as level-headed as she can here, remain as focused as she can on whatever her goals actually are. And the arising of this is more significant likely than anything that she's really had to face too. So treating it with the most like caution and care that she can is the proper and respected thing, I think, for her to do here. And it's just, it forcibly is making her not be able to probably operate in the way that they necessarily want to, but just in the appropriate and smart way for this, which unfortunately, as I did say, does come with the negative of Ryuka is going to consistently get stronger and potentially even build out a background of people who she gets closer to, Mako being one of them. Not that she really does much. I mean, she did a lot this episode. And then also having like the teacher kind of there as the background, and also having like just anybody else that she can potentially grow a little bit more on her side, her connection with Sengetsu and everything too. So yeah, we focused heavily centered around the two of them though in their battle throughout this episode, which was just a absolute blast. He is so much of a thrill to have on screen with his random lines of let me tell you two things or something. It's just, it's fun. It's a really strong way of being able to build up like a phrase like that without it being like a really annoying one, and being something that can be like relevant and catch on and stuff. It's like something that you could go and you could tell, like you could say to your friends, or like start like phrasing things in, and it doesn't sound like you're fucking reciting something from an anime, or you know what I mean? Like it sounds a little bit more natural, and it sounds like something that maybe somebody would have that little quirk of like what they do. But he's super fun. I love his ability. I love the utilization of his like nails and everything that kind of cause everything to be stuck in place, and his operation of just like his whole getup, his gear, the vibe, the aura that he gives off is fun. And I really enjoy him on screen a bunch. And then learning a lot about him throughout this, his connections that he has, his reasons for why he's specifically targeting this god robe, why he's specifically after this, and worried, and how we can realize that he's not necessarily a bad dude, and he has good reasons and valid reasons for why he wants to do this and why he's trying to put an end and a stop to this. But at the same time, we as viewers want to see Ryuko go and kick some ass, right? Like we don't give a fuck. We don't want that to happen. We want to see somebody overtake them, right? This is the system, the government, we could even call them, right? Of what the student council is, and we need to overtake them in some sort of way. And the person who can do that and who is in any sort of position, who has the potential to, he's trying to put a stop to. Why would we support that? You know? But he has strong reasons, and they demonstrate in put focus, and we'll see it, of course, when I go back through the episode here. Towards one individual and one circumstance that of course occurred that causes him to likely go down the path that he ended up doing, and where he finds himself with his own occupation and everything now, being a individual who unfortunately lost their own life due to being consumed overall by this and through the life fibers and everything. He's not standing for it all. He has a huge issue, of course, with them. And naturally you lose somebody who's dear to you in some sort of way, you wouldn't want that to happen, and you would do everything you can to kind of prevent that from occurring again going forward. So I have my suspicions, of course, of this individual being potentially the mother of Ryuko, just due to the fact that we haven't had any knowledge of who this person is, and having a woman figure be like somebody who can kind of utilize this, but not being up to like par, up to strength, or having like some sort of issue or something that gets in the way that causes this to go like get in the way, and causes to be overall just like taken over by this is a definite issue, but could make a lot of sense for natural progression of she wasn't, but of course the person you give birth to can kind of like inherit something like that and become a little bit stronger too, and through being refined potentially of what her father does with like leaving this behind and making this, potentially knowing that like his wife kind of fell victim to this, so let me operate and do something that can allow my daughter to actually properly use this and not allow the same mistake to happen, and instead of being discouraged and turning to the same way that Smugu does here, right? Like, and not necessarily wanting to allow any of these, like the existence essentially of any of this, because he doesn't want to see anybody get hurt. The father instead possibly could have taken on the general path of like, I'm not going to let that be the thing that holds me back in fear of this, and I'm instead going to continue and be a creative and do the things that I like to do and already was on the path of doing, and then create this sort of thing that somebody else could kind of have that still could put a stop or an end to these people when they try and, you know, they get a big head and they try and do too much. I think operates itself out like pretty nice here and can work. It could just be somebody else, you know, it could just be more background and things to develop him as a person and a character and give him a little bit more depth, where it could be like a family member or a loved one, or just like somebody that he had around him that he saw, and it might not have any connection directly to Ryuko either, which would be plenty fine and perfectly okay. I don't think there's any issue with that either. I just feel like it would be a little bit more like fitting or fun to have the mom be the member that he actually saw get like consumed in this sort of way through the notes of like these comments that he's making now, and then potentially when Ryuko like would find out later on, could be like this big like revelation kind of moment of like, or like moment that puts her in a situation that she no longer wants to do this, or she wants to do it even more, and it's even more the reason to continue, you know. It could just be like a big impactful moment that we get. So I don't know, we'll see. But their battle throughout the entirety of this is just really entertaining, really fun. He approaches things wrong sometimes, you know. He should have probably not ran up to the girl and told her to strip. Like, we probably shouldn't do that. You should probably use your words a little bit more, of course, but he does things the way that he wants to, and he operates how he wants to, and it was fun all around. I love starting it off with just zooming in and trying to fucking snipe her here, and then having the counter of these guys who, of course, get angry being in the garden club, having to walk over and trample their stuff, dropping the cigarettes on it and blowing it up. Of course, he's got to take issue with that. Extreme strength. And I love how he's somebody who can compete with these people who have multiple stars, right? And not necessarily need to be somebody else. Like, he doesn't need to possess his own sort of uniform or anything either. He can just continue to be who he is and how he does these things, and it'll work itself out still. which is really nice. Episode 5, a trigger. Improvements on the front of overall using this. I love the different attacks and stuff, but I love him just kind of like calling her out for the weight gain and like everything else that he can kind of like tell directly from just being connected and a part of her here and consistently trying to measure. I love Mako's support for this. That all comes to make so much more sense. I mean, it already makes sense because of how goofy she kind of is. So like you'd expect her to just be fully cool and accepting of this, but how much more she becomes accepting of it, or you can understanding of what's happening through the fact that she's experienced this fully, something that she explores and explains later. This is what she's always gone through in life. Nobody's ever really given her that chance or time of day, right? She's always had these like people that's stuck inside of her head. I mean, you can see how her family operates and is in general too. It sucks. It really does. Like having to be that kind of person, and now she's been giving that chance by having this person who will consistently sit around her, who will come to save her, who will protect her, who doesn't look at her or treat her any sort of like a different, or just because of the type of person she is, and that she finally found that friend in that person. So if they are going to be that person, I'll be with you till you grow out of it. If you don't ever grow out of it and you can continue to think that you have this imaginary uniform or friend that's talking, well, it is, and we know that. But if she continues on that sort of path in Mako's head, it's okay, because I've been there and I've gone through that, and just know you still got me at the end of the day. So there still is somebody real out there, and we can work through until you either get out of the phase or you can continue on this way, but she'll still be around for you regardless. And it's really sweet for her to be able to piece all those things together and figure that out and showcase how important and how caring somebody like Sengetsu is, even though Mako thinks it's like a big old little kind of thing that's going on here. She's not exactly on point, but it is nice because it allows for the direct callback that we get early in the episode to be relevant, of course, of them being friends and no longer just like cloth and woman. You know, it's a little bit more directly to it. Mako gets completely knocked out. She's always getting, I wonder if that'll just stay relevant. Of course it probably will, but throughout the entirety of the series, where every single like moment of letting your guard down, and she just becomes the version of like the person that we use as the sacrifice or the hostage, and always causing Ruka to have to go into action to protect her, which would be a sweet way just to overall build their relationship, because they each provide very important things for each other and put themselves like in a position where, while Mako's done things that haven't been great by like building up Ryuko in the tennis match, right? Like she does other good things here, being able to stand up to the teacher in the previous episode and everything. So she does good stuff. I need you to strip. What are you, in the pervert club? Come on, dude. And I like these moments where you get to see him pulling back on the trigger, the struggle, the shaking almost of doing it, not necessarily wanting to do this, but doing it out of the belief that he's improving or prohibiting somebody from potentially going down the route of this person that he knew before, and he's preventing all that from occurring, which is like one of those things you feel like you're doing the right thing, but your body still is going to hesitate because you don't necessarily want to have to pull this trigger and do this thing. It's a difficult task that he continues to be faced with. It's like he's trying to stall and buy out time consistently until he gets told here that he doesn't have to continue. Leave her alone. They've taken over basically everybody. And his main goal was to just stop them by utilization of the God Robes. If she's consumed by that thing, gives a rise to threat even greater than them. And that's where his general care comes from, right? The consumption of a single person, but if you grow it up to be somebody who is so much more, that thing could potentially harm even more people than Satsuki and her family and group and everything is going to cause anyways. So we can't allow that to happen. And also knowing what it's happened to close people to him, he doesn't want that at all. So you get ahead of it and you put a stop to it before it even has that potential to do it. He's going about things in the right way, in my opinion. I think he is. Do anything you ask unless that is involved, because even then everybody still has their limits, they still have their boundaries, they still have the things that they're not willing to do. They find out what you're doing, your gear's gonna be gone, buddy. Even if so, I'd continue doing this. He basically lives for this. Being called the fucking naked nudist to the what is it, naked beach or whatever, is just the group and everything. So no, not eating. I love the dog just eating everything. Here we go. We gaining our information directly on this guy and what he's doing. Because even then, even if they get their hands on it, you know he's targeting directly after them. So they still have to be aware and cautious of who this guy is, because he's going to go after them regardless. In any case, I guess it's my job to step up and do something here. Satsuki loves her. Them being like, she would be so good as a person if she wasn't just so weird like this, not having any friends. I love Mako's like, oh, you go without me. She's like, all right, and then she stays behind only to have to run. He's not your only friend, by the way. You have me too. So sweet. Which makes it so much more fitting, and you get both of them being involved in that end sequence. And the battle begins. Really badass, just extremely fun, and I love just the random bringing in of the other clubs and everybody being orchestrated by her. Super fun. Maybe instead of looking at me, it should be you getting some data for this. Running throughout the school, having everybody get in the way and come in between them, but it gets to a point and she can't hold on for too much longer. Sengetsu can only hold up so much as well. Continues to try and get her to stop, put an end to this, and has to let her know, this is exactly why I don't want you to go down this route. I don't want you to do this. Finally being able to open up and speak on this in a proper way, in my opinion, but it is a little too late. Yeah, look at him panicking, overseeing her. Completely overtaken by this robe. You're headed down that same path, and he's doing everything he can to stop it. Sengetsu sacrificing himself here to be taken out, but him not being able to see that, right? Unless you're that person, unless you hear them. It's the same misunderstanding, essentially, just in a different way that Mako's having, where she thinks that they're one thing, or what their relationship is, or how Ryoko's kind of acting, when in reality it's actually happening out in a complete different way that us as viewers and her as a person get to kind of observe. He doesn't understand the connection that they've grown, the ability to speak to each other and communicate and feel like each other's, you know, kind of emotion and just connect on that level. He doesn't get that. Maybe it wasn't demonstrated with any of the other characters up to this point, or not characters, but the previous girl that he ran into the issue with. Maybe he didn't understand that, or maybe that wasn't even a capability or thing that occurred. But here, it's entirely different. We're in a different circumstance. I love the little moments where she comes in and she gets the spotlight, of course, put on her, and then she does the most like chaotic movements and and pretty much everything, but explains the whole situation and the reasons why she respects her and everything. That's really sweet. Only friends I had were in my head, and now I finally made one. And even a girl like this, right? She's friends with clothing and everything. Got to take better care of your friend. Super sweet. But then just runs away in the middle. She's always there for the good times. And at this, we sharpen the resolve. We refuse to give up. We refuse to give in at this point. Fuck it, just take me if you have to. And Sengetsu somehow, we see that he climbs up here. I don't know if he actually does, because like the immediate flashback to it like this, somehow he's able to utilize something within himself to connect and allow for him to be able to hear exactly what his own thoughts are, which definitely sparks a reaction, of course, out of him at this point. But I think it's really fun too, just the idea that he does have these abilities and things that he's capable of that we're not necessarily known, like we don't know of, which might just be like maybe he did come out and physically connect, but his reaction to like that thing just moved on its own or something again, and like didn't immediately like flinch or do something, feels a little like that might have not happened, because I was going to assume like you connect to the person, as we get to see like with the heads kind of connected here. That would make sense that maybe there is that connection where they can understand each other like this. But if he technically didn't do any of that, then he does have an ability to just transmit his voice for people to hear, and just actively doesn't want anybody to. Maybe it's because of a reaction based thing, or maybe it's just, I don't know what the specifics and everything of course are on it. But he's like, what the fuck? And he realizes immediately, maybe this is different than the previous situation we were in. But somebody got a little bit bored. Let me give you 2 pieces of information. You're not going to catch me, and I'm not handing them over. So. Cause distraction. But she got through, and she got all the info, and she did everything that she needed to. She never had intentions of winning this battle or capturing him or putting a stop to him or doing anything, just utilizing in some way to be beneficial towards her and Satsuki and just overall everything. And sweet conversation between the two where they finally get to sit down and she gets to reflect and realize, you know what? No, you are my friend. You're not just a piece of clothing like I ended up calling you earlier. Sweet. Brother has a change in heart. I'm just going to give her a chance, but no matter what, I will be there. And if things go bad or they start to look like they're going to go bad, I'm going to be there to put a stop to it. Fun episode. Really enjoyed that one. I hope you did as well. If you liked it, all the like and subscribe on me. Feel free to check out the channel and the comments of the other series. I'll be back next week for episode 6. I hope you guys have a great one. Peace.